what's up, everyone? It's a girl V, and welcome to another episode of Mindful Unfoldings. It's a new week, a new episode, and a new guest. Today, we have a beautiful author, business catalyst. I don't know, you're going to name all of them as we continue speaking. Hi, Tumi.
Hi, Viola, how are you?
How are you doing?
I am fabulous.
I'm good. Can you please tell everyone who you are, introduce yourself to our audience, what you do? Yeah.
Sure, is that how we break the ice in this place?
We're still going to break the ice. We're still introducing you to the audience.
That's fine. That's fine. Hello to the audience of Mindful Unfoldings. I'm Tumi Kutumela, transformation catalyst. I do that with so many hats. I do it as an author. I do it as a speaker. I do it as a business analyst, a facilitator, an MC, and very recently as a presenter as well. So that is the many hats that I wear. But then more than anything, Tumi is a lover of life. Tumi is above anything God's favorite daughter.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So before we get into today's conversation, I am going to break the ice.
Okay.
You asked me to break the ice. So I'm going to break the ice just to make sure that you're comfortable.
Cool.
So my first question is, if you were stranded on a desert island and you could only bring 3 items, what items would they be?
3. Only 3.
Only 3 items.
Can I bring ice cream? Does that count?
Ice cream.
Yeah?
Why?
Because ice cream is nice.
On
Ice
a
cream
desert.
solves any burn. It's very hot, so you can imagine, right? No?
No.
I'll bring my cell phone, a power bank.
That's 3 items already. Ice
Cell
cream.
phone. No, we've read out the ice cream.
Okay,
Cell
took it
phone.
out.
Cell
Okay.
phone. Power bank. And a book.
In the book. Okay. And then if you could have any superpower for a day, what would it be and how would you use it?
Sure. Tough one. For a day, just a day.
Just for a day.
I would choose to be invincible. Just so that people don't see me for a little bit and I can hide out.
So you wouldn't like get into rooms and hear what people say about you?
No. Just
Really?
hide. No.
Just hide.
Just hide. Nobody can see me. Nobody can find me. And I just hide out for a day. Just a day. I don't want to hear what you guys have to say.
Really?
For real.
Okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. And then what was your favorite book as a child?
I recall reading a book titled Dance with a Poor Man's Daughter. I forgot who the author was, but it was quite an interesting book. I started reading that book when I was in high school, grade 8, I think it was. But I do know that it was a book that the matriculants were reading, and they were actually, writing exams. So I kind of started reading it like 5 years in advance.
Oh, so by the time you got there, you already
No, but I was a pro
you
at it.
already knew.
Yeah.
Okay.
All the plot twists.
I love a woman that thinks ahead. Okay, so before we get into the more detailed conversations, so just to drive the conversation, just tell us like about your upbringing, where you grew up, how was it like, all of those stuff, possibly the challenges maybe that you would have faced growing up as a young Black woman, and all of those stuff.
Grew up in Hammanskraal, born bred in Hammanskraal, and second born, first daughter, and I'm from a family of 3 siblings. So I've got an elder brother and a younger sister, and to date I am still their peacemaker. So I don't know how the two fight. Yeah, it's been like that throughout.
Yeah.
I grew up, like I said, in Hammanskraal, an area called Renstown. A girl who loved to play. I was constantly in the streets. I was playing every single game you can possibly think of. I was, at times, even playing with my brother and his friends. He didn't like it much, but I mean, before the sister came, I needed somebody to keep me company.
Yes.
And that meant invading his space a little bit, time and again. I was a very playful child, a very quiet but playful child. And in my high school years, I was away from home. I was in boarding school for a good 5 years of my life.
Was it an all girls?
No,
Oh, so it's
It was
mixed.
a mixed school, yeah.
Okay.
In it's a school called Settlers Agricultural High School in Limpopo.
Okay.
Yeah, so I grew up at home for the most part, and then away from home for another part.
Yeah.
And when you speak of the challenges that came, I mean, when you're growing up with a big brother and at a home where I think the streets back then were still very safe. Today, not so much. And you were very cocooned, in the neighborhood. We believed very much back then in a child being raised by a community, and it was very much like that. So every other house in our street and the other streets, you knew every family in there. You knew the mothers, you knew the fathers, you knew everybody, and we all took care of each other.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest challenges of my childhood, really, in all honesty, came in when I went to high school, because then I was away from that cocooned world where I needed to now start discovering me outside of everything else and outside of everybody else.
So then take us on that journey of discovering like who you are, like who is Tumi, like take us through that journey.
To me, is becoming every day, so it's a tricky one,
Yeah.
right? But when we take it from the very beginning of, this is a young girl growing up who just thinks she likes certain things, possibly because other people are liking them. And then you land in boarding school where you don't know anyone. I think I could literally count the number of people I knew, different grades, different hostels. So you are pretty much in a room with strangers, and you need to start really discovering what Tumi likes and what makes Tumi tick.
Yeah.
And it was very challenging at first, but I remember there was a guy at school when I was battling with all of this who said to me, Tumi, try something, do everything at school. I'm
What's
like,
everything?
yeah, good question. That was my first question. As I was like,
Yeah.
multi everything. Let's define this everything, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Can't be out here jumping fences and doing weird
Yes,
stuff.
yes.
And he said, do every sport, every extramural, try out everything there is to try out, and discover really who you really are, right? Because in primary school, I think I was very much reserved. As much as I did quite a lot, it was things that people said, go try this out or go try that out. And this time around, for the first time, I said, I'm going to try it all out, and I'm going to decide if I like it or not.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it came in, right?
Yeah.
The whole discovering who Tumi is and
Yes.
what Tumi likes.
Yes.
And it's been like that ever since in my life. It's about, I've got this philosophy I live by that says, try it once. If you don't like it, you don't have to do it again. But at least you know.
You seem very like stern and you know what you want and you are very much going to go after it. Have you always been like that?
No.
So
No.
before, were you very hesitant? Were you very like, I'm not sure, doubtful maybe?
I wouldn't say doubtful, but I think I allowed everybody else to just decide certain things for me. And it came from, as a little girl, where mama says, Nana, do this, mama, wear this, mama, all of that. And I would allow certain things to happen, but then push back later. It would be like, yeah, we've tried it and then it's not working, so let's
Yeah.
change it. And then I think over the years, my mother likes telling the story of how, I forced them into allowing me to make my own choices by doing all the weirdest of things and going against what they wanted. Within bounds, but still going against certain things, and when they had to sit me down and say, okay, Nana, but like, why are you doing things the way that you're doing them?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, but you guys are not giving me the choice, So from the beginning, I think I allowed everybody to do it for me. And when they said to me, no, well, let's allow you the choice. What do you want? And then it became a thing. But then over
Yeah.
time, what do you want becomes, instead of waiting for it to be asked, stated.
So then how would you advise someone who's struggling to become their own person without their parents driving that narrative? How do they now break away from that shell? Especially if maybe like you're like me and you're not very like extroverted. Like I'm not gonna sit down and be like, Mama le papa ke batla. I'm not that type of person. Like that is not me. So
Yeah.
for someone like me, how would you now then advise the person or the young adult to approach that situation?
I'm also not like that, believe it or not, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah, no. I will sit and I will be very soft and
Yeah.
we will talk through it and whatever. But I think the one piece of advice would be, if you don't say it and if you don't ask for it, if you don't push for it, you're never getting it. And it's not to say you are going against everybody. What you are just doing is letting everybody know what you like. At times, if it's not going to be through you saying it, at least show them. If you don't like a particular thing that's always done, try do it a different way and show them that that's the way that you prefer to do it. I do believe that a lot of the things that we learn in life, we learn through seeing as opposed to hearing. So if they see that this is what Uvuyelwa likes, and this is what Uvuyelwa constantly does, then it becomes very easy to even for them to bring up the conversation to say, well, but we're seeing a change or we're seeing this. Act on it.
Act on it, basically. So then you speak before you were able to act on it. You said they were driving the narrative for you, always had someone doing something for you. So when you broke free from that, did you not struggle a lot with being dependent on someone to maybe fall back onto? Because basically you're doing what you were told. So now when you're doing what you want to do, wasn't it difficult to like sort of like leech and be like, ish, Mara, maybe ask my brother. Maybe my brother will help me. Like that dependency, or would you just fall into independence because that's what you initially wanted?
So it wasn't easy. I think it feels like it was forced on me when I went to boarding school. But then they always say to me, stop using the word forced on you because you chose to go to boarding school. And that was the whole act on it thing, because I wanted to start doing certain things my way and I wanted to discover certain things about me. I mean, you see things out there and you're like, ooh, I want to try that. So when I put my hand up to say, can I do this? I thought it was going to be easy. You know, you go into this world where you don't even know what to expect and you think you will run very easily with it, but it was quite difficult. 3 months into it, I called, it's less than 3 months. I called home and I said, I can't do this. Take me back. And when they said, okay, Nana, come back, I was like, no, actually, I think I want to go back, and try it out again, because I got a glimpse of it, but I think it was fear that was blocking me from discovering it. And I mean, when you break away from having people do certain things for you, it doesn't mean you must stop everything today overnight. Allow them to still handhold where you need somebody to handhold. And it's okay to go back and ask for guidance, and it's okay to go back and ask for somebody else's perspective on certain things. It's not to say when you start doing it your own way, then you have it all figured out. So it's about that. Break that fear, and it's okay to ask. It's okay.
Why did you choose to go to like boarding school? Didn't you want to go to like normal school, like normal high school? Why boarding school?
So my brother went to boarding school before me.
Okay.
He went to Potchefstroom Boys High. And I remember they used to travel by bus to school from Pretoria, somewhere. I can't remember exactly where we used to drop them off, but then they'll travel by bus going there. And the uniform of the Potchefstroom Girls High School learners, goodness, I saw myself in it. It was not about boarding school. It was about the uniform.
So you went to boarding school because of the uniform?
Oh, no, it looked great. I don't want to lie to you.
Did you think of maybe exploring the other schools and seeing their uniform?
No. By the time I actually started exploring the idea of other schools, I was already sold on the idea of this is how they look, and on Sunday they're all prim and prop in their court shoes, and these cute little hats, and it just looked amazing. And I was like, I want to be like that. I want to be prim, prop, and and then be there, strolling with my bag and everything, and be like, watch me go and be this very independent girl. It just looked pretty.
I like that though. I like that. I like that you go after what you want. I like that.
And I thought, let's do it.
So then how was the transition then from boarding school going to varsity? Because now that's two different. Did you stay at rest? Did you stay at home? Because if you stay at rest, it's more or less the same thing because you're not at home. Or did you just move back to home and then you studied and went home, studied and went home?
I think it became even worse because from there, I didn't even move to rest. I moved to a flat. So I went from being cocooned to still being semi-cocooned in high school to being left completely to just do me as Tumi wants to do me. And look, because I had been away from home for like a good 5 years, the transition was very easy for me. I think the only difference was now the fact that you don't have matron who's going to wake you up in the morning. There's no bell that's going to ring at 8 o'clock that says it's sleep time. You don't have anybody who's going to be, watching if you made your bed or reminding you that it's time for a meal or stuff like that. Now there isn't anybody there to hold you accountable on certain things. You need to start holding yourself accountable. And that's really the biggest shift from the boarding school life to moving to varsity.
It sounds like then you have like a lot of discipline in place because then you already know what you have to do. It's not hard to do it by yourself instead of matron. How wasn't that? Oh, I can't imagine. I would be so frustrated. I can't imagine. But it seems to be an experience, I guess. Would you recommend your children maybe or your child to go to boarding school?
I would. I'd recommend it for anyone. But I don't think it's for everyone. I think that's the other thing. I really don't think it's for everyone. I saw how it broke certain people. I saw how for some people it wasn't a choice. They were forced to do it. I remember I shared a dormitory with one lady who was there not because she wanted to, but because her mom was working overseas. And it was a case of, if we have to now figure out how we're going to do this, it means we need to place you somewhere else. And they placed her in boarding school. So there were people who were there not by choice. And not everybody has the discipline or the character to be left alone to go do that on their own. I left home at the age of 12, 13, the age of 13. That's still very young.
Very young.
That's extremely young. I know a lot of 15-year-olds today who still, need some kind of guidance from a parent or whatever. But to be honest, it is something that I would recommend. I've even had a discussion with my kids about it and asked the question, would you be willing to do it? And they've asked the questions around, so exactly what happens there? How does it work? And we've gone through, everything that it entails. But you learn a lot about yourself in a space like that very quickly.
Yeah.
You learn a lot about yourself in any space that anybody's going to put you in. But I feel like in an environment like that where, there isn't mom or dad or sis or aunt or gran, it's just your peers. And outside of your peers, it's your guardians. And you can imagine when you've got one person having to work with, sure, we had prefects and stuff, and they would work with them to try and manage all of you. You are still required to pull your weight. You're still required to meet them halfway. So it's that.
Yeah, so I like that though. It seems very interesting. I've never met anyone who went to boarding school.
It's fun.
It seems like a very interesting adventure. I don't think it's for me. I wouldn't survive.
No? Which part? The being woken up part, being away from home?
All of it. I wouldn't mind being away from home, but I struggled for a very long time, for example, making friends. Difficult. I always clashed with girls. Also can't imagine sharing like a dorm.
Yeah.
Because what if you're messy? I'm very clean. I'm also very claustrophobic. I like space. So is it small? Is it big?
Yeah.
I don't like when people shout at me. You're going to tell me when to eat. What if I don't want to eat? You're going to force me to eat now. All of those things. I think I'm too much in my head.
Yeah.
That's how I am. So I don't think it would be for me. It's fine for me to go to school at 8, come
and
back
then
at
be
2.
back.
If I have netball, I'll come back at 4. And then I'm in my space, I'm at home, and I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
But I think that's just maybe how I grew up. I never was exposed or had the option. I never even thought about boarding school. I knew about it in high school because then I'd known people who went. But no, thank you. I love it for you, but no, thank you. Not for me. So let's talk about a business to me.
Yeah.
How did that come about? Before we go into, I'm excited to hear about your book. Tell us more about what you do. Just dive into that space.
The business side of Tumi. So that I actually got from home. So I run 2 businesses. The one I run it with my siblings. So that's called 13 on Austin. And we run a guest house, shuttle services, events and conferencing. And we're based in Hammanskraal, at home actually. So what happened there is, we all left home and went to go study whatever you went to go study and go experience whatever you go to experience, and then you started working. And one day my dad calls all of us home and says, guys, come home. And then we arrive and then we sit around the table and then he says, I have a vision, but this is a vision for all of us. And we said, all right, talk us through this vision. He said, all of you are skilled in your own way. And then we had a whole conversation about generational wealth and about, the opportunities that we can create for our children and their children by utilizing the skills that we currently have. And we said, let's throw all of those skills into one hat and see if we can come up with a business that can actually work. And he said, your mom and I are here and we want to support it and we want to guide you through it. And let's learn together. We thought, oh, okay. And then he literally left us to go do everything from the registration, tax stuff, everything. Like he sat back and was like, go do it. You guys tell us what you need and, all of this. And then they said, here's a property. They literally gave us a portion of their house and said, you can start here, turn this into the guest house and all of that.
Yeah.
And I think that's what brought rise to me, the entrepreneur, to me, the businesswoman. And we've been now running 13 on Austin for, they're probably going to kill me for not knowing how long it's been. Probably about 7-8 years now. And recently, this year, I then registered what I refer to as the fruit of my womb company, which is TK Wellness.
Yes.
And how that came about is, I already was exposed to the business world and how things are run there and everything, and looking at all the other hats that I wear in the work and spaces that I occupy. I thought, how do I then put all of this together and package it?
Yeah.
And then run with it. And that's how TK Wellness was born. Yeah, so that's being a businesswoman.
First question, how is it working with your siblings? Isn't there like conflict? A lot of people say there's like siblings rivalry, there's always drama. How have you guys navigated that space between the three of you?
Respect.
Well, yeah.
Respect has been the core of everything that we do. We've learned to draw the line between you are my sister and you're my business partner. It wasn't easy in the beginning. You'd want to throw rank. I'm your sister, you don't talk to me like that. And then you're reminded, no, in here, she's your HR personnel.
Yeah.
And all of that. It takes a lot of maturity as well. And I think the fact that we all understand why we're doing what we're doing makes it easy as well. It doesn't mean we don't experience obstacles here and then. When we do, we call each other out. Oh no, we don't let anything slide. I've been called to discipline myself, so if one person seems to be going astray for whatever reason, we pull you back and we sit down and we remind each other what we need to do. The other thing that I think helps a lot is the fact that we spend quite a lot of time together outside of the business, and make sure that we are as close-knit as possible. So when it's time to work, we are all able to turn away from CC, Papa, Mama, and all of that and it's crunch time.
Yeah.
And then when we're done working, we'll go back and we'll sit and we'll even have the honest and hard conversations about, say we just ran an event and the conversations would be, how did it go? And let's be honest about it, from planning all the way till everybody left. What worked, what didn't work. We have conversations around, what can we do better?
Yeah.
And it's a constant let us grow together.
Yes.
And also help each other out. There are days where I'm probably very much available for a lot of things, and then sometimes where my other schedule for other things does not allow me to be as available.
Yes.
And it's about learning to hold each other's hand anytime somebody needs to. So it's been quite an interesting. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
You seem like you guys have like a healthy family life. The way you guys are so supportive and able to grow together. A lot of Black families can't do that.
Yeah.
I believe that's why a lot of Black family businesses actually
They fall
never
flat.
succeed, because you can't call each other out. It's uncomfortable to hear the truth. So you guys have created that space, which is nice. I like to hear that. And then TK Wellness.
Yes.
What is that one about?
All right. So TK Wellness is all about holistic wellness, mind, body, spirit, and all. So I run a mobile spa, and that's the body and the mind part of it all. So It's I've always loved it. I've always been about the therapeutic side of life. It helps in every other thing that you are doing. And I also do coaching, business coaching, life coaching, and in there with my book as well.
Yes. We can get into.
So I do quite a lot of facilitation work
Yeah.
to assist individuals, to assist companies in transforming businesses, in transforming their own personal lives, in transforming systems and the way that they do things. And yeah, that's what TK Wellness is about.
I like the fact that you said you're a life coach because mindful unfolding is all about healing. I remember I
Yeah.
told you before we recorded all about healing, understanding ourselves more. I always say, like, when I started mindful unfoldings, I was very, like, in a clustered space. I didn't know who Viala was. I did not know what really I was interested into. I was also just going through a lot. So to break away from those old habits to become the woman I'm becoming now with the plan and a vision, all of those and goals, difficult. So as a life coach, like, what's like one of the main things or the main problems people come to you for?
It's usually we're stuck. It's a very tricky problem, right? When
Yeah.
just somebody's like, I feel so stuck, and you're just like, yeah, let's unpack this stuck and what stuck looks like. And I don't know if it's because I went through it myself that people see it in me and then come to me for it. I remember a friend of mine once said to me, God will never allow you to go through something in vain. If you're going to be a healer, you need to get sick so that you can understand healing.
Yes.
And I think when I look back at a point in my life where I was stuck, and I talk about it. I talk about it in my book. I talk about it in my speaking engagements. I talk about it in my coaching engagements. So I think then it becomes easy for people to come and say, but you've walked the path, so help guide us through it.
Okay, then what is being stuck? What does being stuck look like?
It looks different to everybody,
Yeah.
right? For somebody, it may be, like you said, this is Viela with the plan and this is her goals and whatever, but it looks like I'm not getting there. It looks like there's so many barriers that are just blocking me from getting to that.
Yeah.
And that's how I've always loosely translated being stuck. It's like you can't get to the next. And you feel stuck because you don't know how to get to the next. And at times it's, I don't know why I'm not getting to the next. And a lot of the times I've found that you can't get to the next because you are battling you. And it's not so much about the systems and things that are put in place that block you from getting to what you want to get to. It always, with all the sessions that I've had, always boils down to you and what you are doing differently, what you are choosing differently. From it being in your daily routine, from it being in how you think of certain situations, it starts to then change the I'm stuck to there's a little bit of movement.
Yeah.
You're not so stuck anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, like, my question would be, for example, my father's daughter. I'm going to go back. I'll go back to this question. You'll
Yeah.
see where I'm going with it.
That's fine.
Get into the title of the book as to why actually it's my father's daughter.
I'm daddy's girl through and through, all day, every day.
Yeah.
But at the same time, and I guess that's where a lot of people come back with the moment when they read the book, because I also refer, when I started with my introduction, I said I'm God's favorite daughter. So when I refer to my father's daughter, I'm referring to God, my spiritual father, and I'm also referring to the I make a lot of reference to the relationship I have with my biological father.
When you're so specific, do you have two fathers?
I've got my spiritual father, which is God.
Okay.
And then I've got daddy.
I got you. I was about to say, you're so specific biological father, because most people just say my father.
No, and the reason why I say it like that is because I always did the differentiator between my spiritual and my biological, so that we understand I'm speaking of God in this context, and then I'm speaking of
your father,
Papa in this context. Yeah.
So what does that relationship mean to you as a young girl? A lot of girls, well, me included, struggle in that department of Papa and those relationships. So how has that relationship, the relationship that you have with your dad, being a father's girl, that's how it should be. How has that impacted you? And do you feel as though if you didn't have that relationship, it'd probably be someone else, or you'd see life differently than you see it now?
Definitely. I think I've had a very close relationship with my dad from birth. And today I refer to it as a blessing and my curse at the same time, right? And let me unpack that for you. So I was born, I said I was second born, right? And I was born 3 years after my brother. And if you listen to everybody tell the stories of when we were still kids, my brother was the crying child, the one who still wanted the attention and everything when I was born. And, Mama talks of days where she would have to put my brother on her back. And then this little baby is not the one that's going on Mama's back. So to a certain extent, I grew up feeling a little bit of a void, feeling like I don't necessarily have that relationship with my mom. When 3 years later, when my sister was born, she was very, very sick. So it felt like they skipped the part where I needed Mama's nurturing, and it went from here to there. But with Papa, it was always there from the very beginning, and I drew closer to him, right? And it meant that a lot of the things I take from him, I ran to him more than I ran to my mom, believe it or not. Whenever I get stuck even myself, he's probably the one that I would call before I call Mama.
Yeah.
And I feel like the way that he raised me, I don't even know if it was intentional for him, but it feels very much like he was raising another son. Yes, he would need to remember here and there, but there was a very big component that I felt like I was being raised like my brother. And when I looked at how my sister was raised, I'm like, Mara, but like there's a huge difference here, But I am the strong woman I am today, the independent woman I am today because of him. I remember days where I didn't understand why he was doing certain things, and he would sit me down and would talk. It would be he was not the parent that cannot be held accountable. You could go to him at any point and ask and question.
Yeah.
And he will always, just give it to you bare raw as it needs to be.
Yes.
He was also a very active parent with the most busiest schedule ever, but very active. He would take me to school every time he could, and this is when I was in boarding school. He would attend my musical performances. He would attend whatever that he could that I was doing, anytime when he was available. To a point where, even in this day and age, if he's about to cross the border, you'll get the call that says, "Child, in case you are looking for me, I'm about to cross the border. Until I roam, I'll be unavailable."
Yeah.
And I think that really shaped how I parent today. But it also shapes how I look at any male species.
I was just about to ask.
Oh, yeah.
I was to set the standard for your relationships.
And that's the part where I say probably the curse in it all, right? Because being raised like that boy child, that firm person that, I feel like I was never taught how to be subtle. I was never taught how to, be the, and a lot of people probably kill me for using this term, but the submissive woman. I didn't, as much as I saw it illustrated by my mom, I never walked that journey with her. So it's a foreign concept to me as a woman. I watched it from the other side. And then now when you try and exercise it, I exercise it with lack of patience.
So then would you say that's why, okay, are you struggling with relationships now?
At the moment, no.
Okay.
But I was married before, and I feel like that's one of the things that also played a major role in how certain things were done in our home. I struggled at times with, stepping back a little, and I'll do my part and I'd want to do your part. and that obviously became a problem at a certain point. And it took time to learn, to
You say,
unlearn.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you said you were married, meaning you
Divorced right
divorced.
now, yes.
How was that journey? How was that journey? I don't know anything about it. So I'm asking because
Yeah.
there's different stages. Because now I'm guessing in your relationship. Yes. So take us through that healing journey of being married, divorce, and then actually programming yourself to get into another relationship now.
I don't think anybody gets married with the idea of, I'm going to walk out. I don't know of anybody who's ever said, I left room for walking out, So it's like, you are the plan. We are the plan. And then tomorrow it's, no, this plan is not playing out like it should, and this plan was forever and a day. It was a lifetime plan. So now you must go back and say, but this lifetime plan is not so much that anymore. Probably the most painful experience I've had, and I say that because, when you are living with somebody and you're doing things with somebody and you're building this life together, and then the same two people need to go back and rip it apart.
And break,
Yeah. And take away the little pieces of it all and separate that which was brought together. It is painful. I saw how painful it was for me, and I saw how painful it was for him. And as much as we both ended up getting to a point where we said, yeah, no, it's fine, let's not do this anymore. Let's both walk. I still acknowledge how painful it was for both of us. And having to rebuild from there on. I mean, when you're married, you do everything together. It's your plans, your finances, the children, everything, even meal plans, every single thing. How I plan on working out next week. It doesn't matter what I'm doing, it's going to affect you. I can't rely on you anymore. I remember the one day where I broke down driving to work, because we used to drive to work together. We used to work a block away from each other. And whenever I was in the office, I was working from home a few years leading up to the divorce. But whenever I'd be in the office, we would drive in together and drive back. And he'd do most of the driving. I hardly ever drove, right? And then we get to this point where this is me stuck in traffic on my way to work. After having dropped off the kids at school, and I was so overwhelmed, and I broke down that day. I was so mad at him. I've never been so mad at him before. And for me, it was like, now you've left here, now I need to even drive, and now I need to be stuck in traffic, and now I must deal with Micah, and now I must deal with all these, and then it was like, your whole life literally changes, and that for me was really painful. Having to even walk the kids through that journey of, Papa is here today and he's not tomorrow. And having to have them understand that we were family living together, we are family apart. And while they understand that we are family with Koko and aunts and everybody, but we were here together with mom and dad. So now, separating mom and dad, what does that mean? And I had no one to reference. I mean, my parents are still together, and it was like, where do I even go to seek guidance with this? It was really painful, and the process of getting to court and saying, this is it, we're done, here's your divorce decree, felt very much like a practical exercise. We must do this. We must then put together, a parenting plan. We must. A lot of actions, a lot of boxes that needed to be ticked. So much that I neglected the emotional side of it. You neglect the psychological part of it. That only hit me a year after, when I actually was now like, all right, we seem to be a bit stable. Not as stable as we were, but we seem to have a thing going on here with the kids, and like there's a sense of normality that's starting to be created, a new norm that's starting to be created. And it was only at that point that I actually broke down, and it hit me that, oh no, you have not dealt with that and you have not healed from that. And it was like a year later, only now I must start the journey of healing from the loss, healing from the separation, healing from this rebuild and everything that came with it. You ask about, how do you then transition into being okay with being in a relationship again? Oh, honey, it took years. Ask anybody in my life and they'll tell you right now, we never thought Tumi will even say to us, I'm willing to try it out. And more than anything, it was because I thought to myself, now that I've gone through this process, I'm here now, and I'm rebuilding. And why must I bring in someone to come and do this again with me if it might not work out? So there was a lot of that, a lot of those fears of, I don't really want to put myself through the emotional turmoil. I don't want to put my children through it. I don't want to do it. Can I be about traveling the world and making billions? And that was the thing. And I, I speak about the curse and the blessing of being raised by my dad the way that he did. And this was probably the biggest blessing that came from it, because I was able to stand very quickly. I was able to walk away knowing that I'll be okay, because he had taught me to be. He had taught me to be responsible. He had taught me to be that independent woman. My father had taught me to not even come to him and say, Papa, ke kgobela 100 rand if you don't know what you're going to do with it. You must really account for that. And because of such teachings, I was able to very quickly get life back on track. I was very quickly to be able to say, how do we make the next 1,000 rand? How do we make the next 10,000 rand? Because it's no longer here. It's no longer two incomes in the home. It's a single one. And now you're like, I've stabilized it. I'm doing everything myself. Now I must go back and try and do it with somebody else. That was really, really hard. And I'm doing it now. Recently gotten into a relationship. But it's
I love girls and I love love, yes.
But it was one of those. I feel like I just tripped. Guys, I believe
Those are
that
the
you can.
best ones.
I believe you can trip, ne?
Those are the best ones. Trust me.
I hear a lot of
Those
people
ones-
say nobody trips and falls into. No.
Trip.
Girl, I tripped.
I always say, stay on those knees. Stay on those knees. Please.
And one moment it was high, and then the next thing it's like, all the best with your interview. Hope everything goes well. Thank you. From doing this alone to having somebody who will then champion with you, and I think that's amazing.
I love that. I love that. So let's speak about your spiritual father, the father that we all love
Yes.
and cherish so
Yes.
much. How has your spiritual journey been? Mine has been very difficult. So let's dive into that one.
Grew up in the church, born in church. So I'd say that's the foundation I know. But life happens, eh? Life happens. I've gone through so many moments in my life where I'm just like, oh no, but Father God,
Why?
do you not see me? I've had so many moments where I'm like, I can't, I've had so many moments of I'm done. And it was a literal I'm done. At the moment, I think my father and I have a great relationship. A very personal, great relationship where I conversate with him like I'm conversating with you right now. I'd be doing it while I'm driving. I'll be doing it while I'm washing the dishes. I'll be doing it while I'm minding my own business, and I'm able to be like, no, how do we plan this next one? I'll be putting on my socks and I'm here like, but, and God has become the center of everything that I do. I don't do anything without inviting God in it. So when I look at where it started, I'm like, I'm glad that was the foundation I was given. When I look at the trials that came in my life, and even the divorce, I remember when I was going through that, I was like, what do you want from me? What is it that I need to be learning? What is it that you are trying to elevate me to, that I need to go through something that's painful? And I didn't understand it. And I was mad at God. I went through moments where I'm just like, you are not the father that you claim to be. I went through those moments where I'm like, you and I, we done.
Yeah.
So being able to to go back and be like, let's do this has been an interesting journey.
I have a question.
Mm.
When was the moment then that you knew that God will always choose you? Like, no matter how many times you say, I'm done, no matter how many times you doubt his goodness, no matter times you can say, today I can be like, you don't see me, and tomorrow he actually sees you. When was that specific moment when you're like, okay, he's still choosing me, he's here? And then you obviously now build from that faith, because I always say faith is like a brick.
Yeah.
And then sometimes the brick is skew, you must take it off, put the cement again, then put it on again. So when was your moment when you're like, okay, this is my father and I'm going to stick beside him. I'm not moving. This is where I want to be for the rest of my life.
It's so I look at it as I hear your analogy of the bricks and, having them move and stuff. I've always looked at it as I'm on this journey of life, and those moments where I'm like, no, he still got me. Those are like my landmarks. The landmarks that when it gets tough, even if I'm trying to run away, I see it and I'm reminded, oh yeah, Konje, he still turns things around for me. There's been many of those, but the one that I remember vividly and one that brought me back, 2015. Yes, 2015. I was involved in a car accident with my children in the car, my ex-husband in the car, and I was the one with most injuries. My lung had collapsed. My jaw was fractured. My body had so many scratches. My back was injured. Girl, I was a mess, right? And I remember, even with all those injuries, not realizing that I was injured because I needed to take care of everybody else in my life. I needed to make sure that, the kids are fine. I needed to make sure that, everybody's alive here in the scene. And the car is towed. And, this whole let's tick boxes before the ambulance takes me. I need to know that insurance is here. I need to know that this is. Only to find that you're the one that lands in ICU while everybody goes back home.
Yo.
Yeah. And I remember it was, I think on the fourth night in ICU, fourth or fifth night, I was having a conversation with one of the male nurses, and he was saying to me, breathe. I said, well, I am breathing. You are not breathing. And I didn't understand because I'm here. Like, my lung has collapsed. We are trying to revive this lung. And I didn't see how I was going to make it out. But when I was looking at, the past years and everything that I was struggling with, I was there like, yeah, but God, you don't see me. So just take me. Yeah. So at that moment, I remember while having this conversation, he kept saying to me, breathe. And he kept saying, breathe. And he kept saying, breathe. I was taken to the scripture in the Bible where they talk about, when the dry bones came back to life. And it felt very much like that's what happened with me. Where this woman who was broken, emotionally broken, in so many ways, physically as well now, was lying in this ICU bed, and they were telling you are alive, you need to just breathe. And I was like, but I don't recognize me. And I had to go back to the point where I last recognized Tumi. And I remember having that prayer saying, these dry bones shall come back to life. You are going to do it for me. You have done it before. And I stand here, I sit here with you as a testament of him doing it. And it wasn't an easy journey to get through that. The one thing I've always said about God is he's in the process more than he's in the result.
Yes.
So the process of, getting back to where I am today was not an easy one, but I needed to rely on him. I needed to let go of my own strength. I needed to let go of my own understanding of the way things needed to be done and start going back daily to say, I'm still yours. And I'm trusting you to be the father that you say you are.
Yeah.
Show me again.
Yes.
Show me again.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that you say that. Oh, that's a beautiful testimony. And God has kept you. I always say that. And something when people ask me, also my faith now is very personal with God. I love writing letters to God on my phone. In my head, I'm like, you're reading this.
Yes.
I know you're reading it. And my testimony has always been like when I look back at it, it's like, you're responding to this letter, you're responding to this letter. Because when my faith journey also began, it was because of time. I can't even get through like deep inside of it. But I remember as well, it was at a moment where I was like, it's fine. Let's just it's
That's
fine.
yeg.
Let's it's fine.
Yeah.
But he kept me. He kept me, and he always told me just to guard my heart, and that's why that's
Oh,
always
yes.
my favorite scripture, because it's always been to the detriment of others and what I've always done for others, but was never done to me. So God is so good. I love the
He's
testimony. He's
amazing.
amazing, and I can't wait for people to discover that. People who don't have faith in Him as well should know that He's a good God, and He's
Yeah.
got you, and He's always going to give you those fresh, new, juicy bones
Of
that
course,
you need.
you know?
Exactly. So before we wrap up, tell
Yeah.
us about my father's daughter.
My father's daughter. So I've got two books that I've published. The first one titled My Father's Daughter. The second one, which is actually the second edition, Encounters with TK. My Father's Daughter was never meant to be published. I keep saying that over and over again.
Yeah.
It was that book that you wrote when you were in therapy because you are just letting
Right.
everything out and you
Yeah.
are just expressing everything,
Yeah.
only to be told one day, girl, but this is a book.
Yes.
You know, we spoke about my childhood when we started, and how that was, and how I was so cocooned, and how everything was so great. And in the book, I touch on that a bit, on my childhood and how everything just played out to my boarding school days, and I talk about the biggest turnaround in my life, probably the one time in my life where I was like, there's no God. See, every other time, I was like, there is a God, He's just not for me.
Yeah.
That time, I was like, I get go. I was in matric. I just completed my matric, and we were celebrating my brother's 21st. It was an amazing time. The family was in celebration mode, and I was kidnapped at like literally down the road from home. The very same night of my brother's 21st, kidnapped and raped. And it was, a moment of, a painful moment if you realize that they're dancing,
Yeah.
celebrating life, to this now happening. So everybody went from we are dancing to receiving a call that says Tumi has just been taken. And I remember my prayer during that whole ride was that, can my family find my body? Because we hear of so many women whose bodies don't get, found, and somebody just went missing, and we just never know what happens after that. And that was my prayer. Let my family find my body so that they can have the closure that they need. I accepted death at that point in my life. I accepted that, this was the end of Udumi, as everybody has known her to be. And at the end of the night, when those guys were done doing what they wanted to do with my body, they threw me at some other dark place somewhere, and left me there to find my way home. And I remember I was barefoot. My shoes remained in the car. The way people are so evil, Viola, when they left me there, they gave me 12 rand coins, 12 and 50 coins, and concentrated juice, and said to me, "Oh no, thank you. You will see what you do from here on." And they got into the car and they drove off. And I remember standing there wondering, where am I? What is this? And I needed to then, for me, that prayer, let my family find my body. I needed to get my body to a place where they can at least find it.
Yeah.
Which meant, trying to get away from this very dark place that they had left me in the middle of nowhere, run into what seemed like light. And I did that. And I made it home that night. unlike many others who don't. And when I got home, I remember it was only at that point where I was like, but there's no life here left. They've taken it all. They've taken everything there was to take. And I'm damaged. There can never be anything good that comes out of Utumi at that point. And the only reason why I felt like I needed to keep going was because of everybody in the house, my parents, my siblings, like, just keep it going for them. Just keep it going for them. I tried taking my life twice even after that, you know, because of all the trauma that comes with it. And it got really hard. So when I started writing My Father's Daughter, it was because I was struggling with all of that. And I didn't trust that I could speak to anybody about it because I had made everybody believe that I was okay, right? It was like, no, I'm fine. I'm ready to go back to school. I'm all right. Life is great. Let's do this. And life just started happening and people started believing that I was okay. So to go back to all of them and be like, I'm right. It's not something that I knew how to do. So I turned to pen and paper and I just started scribbling my heart out. And when I was going for counseling, I'd get into a therapy session and I wouldn't be able to talk. I'd sit there and just cry and cry and cry. And I remember the therapist one day saying, what do you like doing? Drawing, whatever. I was like, I write. And I was like, okay, keep writing. And I keep doing that. I canceled my therapy sessions because when I was writing, I wasn't crying. So I was like, yeah, this is healthy.
Yeah.
The crying part, So I continued with the writing and it was through that I realized that I was stuck. It was through that I realized that I needed, you know, to change a lot of the things in my life. When I was lying in that hospital bed, in that ICU bed, when I was like, let these dry bones come to life, that was the moment for me where I said, God, I'm ready to heal from it. I'm ready to acknowledge it as something that has happened in my life. And now I need you to walk me through it. I need you to restore me. I need you to put me back together again. I need you to make this crushing make sense. I need you to put me in this cocoon and do what it is that you need to do with me so that I can come out and be an amazing butterfly and do amazing things in this world. But I trust that I can't do it without you. So that was the moment. And that's how My Father's Daughter was born.
You're actually giving me chills and I'm wearing a leather jacket. I'm wearing a leather jacket. Yo, I don't know what to say from that story. But before I even close this episode, I admire your strength. I admire the fact that you were able to keep your faith. Because a lot of people, after that has happened, they would never keep their faith. And the fact that you're still full of life and you still love life and you walk in the room and you bring so much energy, you did not deserve that. And I'm sure you've heard it so many times. But look at the woman that you are now. Oh my gosh, now I can't wait to read the book. No, because it's such a cruel thing to go through, but to still see you standing and still hopeful and still happy and still faithful is very admirable. And thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. And I hope people actually know. Where can they get the book?
The book is available at Exclusive Books, at Bargain Books. They can also get it online.
Send us the link and we'll also...
I will do that.
Yes.
And, so I'll send you the online link at Samaputi Publishers.
Yes.
Or you can DM me and I'll send you like a signed copy.
Tell us your Instagram details, girl. We're here.
It is at Gutumela_TK. That is my Instagram, and I think my TikTok as well. Then my Facebook page is Tumi Gutumela.
Okay. Well, we'll attach everything to the screen. Yo, thank you so much. I enjoyed this episode. Unfortunately, time is not on our side.
It never is.
It never is. But you know what? You were here. Thank you so much for joining us. May God keep you and continue blessing your beautiful soul. I'm wishing you all the best with the book, and we'll tell everyone about it in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching today's episode. I will see you guys in next week. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Follow Tumi on social media platforms. We'll link everything in the description. Follow Busang Studios on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube, and follow myself, Fiala Nkambula, on Instagram, TikTok, and Mindful Unfoldings on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok. And I will see you guys next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.